fight is considered by many fans to be the greatest boxing exhibition in the sport's long history. For 14 rounds, the two combatants pounded and pummeled each other in the stifling heat of the Philippines. Ali said later that this fight was the closest thing to death that he had ever experienced. Many friends of the champs think that the bout did him irreparable neurological damage due to the over 440 blows that he withstood at the hands of the enraged Joe Frazier. It ended finally in the 14th round when Joe's doctor stopped the fight because both of his eyes were now swollen shut and he could no longer see. When Muhammad realized that he had won the fight and that Frazier was not going to answer the bell for the next round, he collapsed in his corner. There would be no victory lap of the ring that night. After the thrilla in Manila, Ali took a well-needed rest and married his third wife, Veronica Porsche. Belinda had left him just a few months before. He then set about the business of defending his title, even though those around him were beginning to wonder whether or not he should leave the fight game for his own good. He fought Ken Norton for a third time and, as always, had trouble with the one fighter he was never able to dominate in the ring. He kept his title, but only by a razor-thin margin in the judges' scoring. On February 15, 1978, he once again stepped into the ring as the heavyweight champion of the world. His opponent was a little-known fighter with only 7 professional bouts to his name, Leon Spinks. Most people assumed that this would be just another routine title defense for the finest boxer ever to put on a pair of gloves. They were dead wrong. Ali had once again underestimated his challenger, training lightly and not taking the fight seriously enough. Spinks made him pay with his title. In a unanimous decision, the decidedly un-Ali-like Spinks defeated the man whom he regarded as a personal hero. Muhammad was devastated. He had lost his title in the ring, but he was surprisingly gracious in defeat.
We're all gonna lose in life. You're gonna lose your wife, you're gonna lose your mother, you're gonna lose your father. We all have losses in life. And one who can really overcome them losses and just keep living and try to come back or be successful. You can't go die because you lose. I did my best, and I trained, I was in shape. And so just lost.
Was there a time when you knew you won it?
No, it was never a time. When you're in the ring, you never know when you're going to win or what. We're going to tell y'all the truth. I'm his new manager.
Privately, he began training for the rematch that very night, running until he was exhausted and repeating the same phrase over and over. Gotta get my title back. Gotta get my title back. On August 15th, just 6 months after losing his belt to Spinks, Muhammad Ali once again faced him in New Orleans, Louisiana. This time, it was Spinks who was overconfident. After beating his boyhood idol, Spinks had lived the high life and had forgone his usual training regimen. Ali dominated the younger man for 15 rounds, winning a unanimous decision and becoming the first man in the history of boxing to win the heavyweight championship of the world 3 times. 9 months later, he retired from the ring. It lasted all of 1 year. On October 2nd, 1980, Muhammad Ali suffered a crushing defeat at the hands of his former sparring partner, Larry Holmes, who was now reigning as the heavyweight champ. 1 year later, he was similarly dispatched by Trevor Berbick in Nassau. Time had finally caught up with Muhammad Ali. This time, when he announced his retirement, it was for good. But the damage had been done. In 1984, Ali was hospitalized due to what doctors termed mild symptoms of Parkinson's syndrome. Caused by repeated blows to the head, the disorder is marked by an involuntary shaking of the hands and a weakened capacity for speech. Almost 10 years after the thrill in Manila, Joe Frazier had gotten his revenge. Ali was now a shell of his former self. The world accolades were gone. His famous speed and mouth would serve him no more. And his third wife, Veronica, troubled by what was happening to him, divorced him. But he wasn't down for the count just yet. In the late 80s, Ali married his fourth wife, Lonnie, and began the long journey into what he now calls his true calling. Humanitarian, statesman, and promoter of tolerance and peace worldwide.
Now that I'm not boxing, this is my main mission, to do all I can to propagate Al-Islam, make the people conscious of our great leader, the Honorable Warif Deen Muhammad, and the mission. People makes it think that you say Muslim, they think of guerrillas, bombs, hostages, Khomeini, Gaddafi, and this is a peaceful religion. Islam means peace. Our greetings, Assalamu alaikum, is peace. And so this is what I want to promote.
The former holder of the heavyweight crown now spends 200 days a year traveling the four corners of the world he once reigned over. Only this time, it is to the hospitals and orphanages, to the mosques and homes for the disenfranchised. He has become their champion and their voice, working tirelessly to uplift those whom the world has overlooked. In 1996, in Atlanta, Georgia, a stunned and overjoyed world watched with a tinge of sadness as the man who had danced like a butterfly and stung like a bee lifted the Olympic flame in his once mighty fist and ignited the flame that would burn for the duration of the Games. A crowd of over 30,000 live fans chanted his name as he stood on a basketball court at those Games to receive a replacement gold medal for the one he had discarded so many years before. With a trembling hand, the fighter who had scorned so much of the establishment, the champion who had been hated and loved by millions, the man who had started his journey so long ago and had eschewed many of the values he now embraced, lifted his new gold medal to his lips and kissed it. That said more than he ever had in his entire life.